The much anticipated of the statement of King Charles while he's visiting in Kenya has come out, and we all know now whether he has said sorry to the Kenyans or not, because this was the much spoken agenda it has been over the media. And yes, King Charles said there is no excuse what the Britain has done to Kenya, but no direct apology to Kenyans. That's it. But he's not the first one. Tony Blair did the same, and many other British leaders have done the same. They say always they are sorry, but there's no direct apology to the victims of those countries. Hello, I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. So please, this is what we are going to uncover tonight. What did he say exactly in his statement in Nairobi? What are the crimes so far Britain has committed to Kenyans, and also how was this perceived by the British media, and what is the way forward both for Britain and Kenya? These are the things we are going to uncover, or I'm going to uncover now for you. Before I start, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you are not a family, please go hit that subscription button and give it, I wouldn't say give it a like, wait until the end, but share also the information, share with you, with your friends, with your network, that you may think that this is a relevant information. But after the video, if you like what we bring you, please, you can hit the like button. So in his statement, the British, the royal family, or King Charles, has said that there is no excuse to what they have done, but he didn't say sorry. Here is what he said. Let's hear what he said together. I'm going to share a video.
Or pride in Britain. But it seems that every time King Charles visits the West Indies or Africa, he's got to crawl, he's got to grovel, he's got to apologise for Britain's wicked colonial past and pretend it was 100% evil. And it's the whole same story again on his visit this week to Kenya, where activists are hoping that after sorry comes reparations, free money.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty. And for that, there can be no excuse.
Joining me from London every Wednesday is Patrick Christie, star presenter on GB News, which also, by the way...
Yeah, so you have heard it. This is what he said in his statement. But just before that, this is Sky News. It's a British media. So you can see how this is perceived by the media, the mainstream media of the Britain. They apparently they are not happy that even that he said he, every time when he visits those countries who were or the Commonwealth who were under the colonies of Britain, that he's saying, okay, there's no excuse that what we have done, we deeply sorry. Even that is not acceptable. The man starts, the journalist, if you have listened, I wish the king was more proud or takes more pride in Britain, just because he says that there is no excuse of what they have done, and that was not even acceptable for him. That's like something not to be proud of Britain. He rather chooses, if the man says that we are proud of all the slavery and colonialism that we have done to you and the massacre. I really, this shows you the mentality. It's even more painful that what happened in the past, because this is the generation now in Britain. And then imagine what they are teaching to the children, and imagine what kind of generation will be. So forget sorry, forget apology, forget compensation. There is no even, I mean, they will take more pride in the past of what Britain has done in colonialism and slavery of these countries, and they would want to do more, maybe in a different way. So I was even shocked to hear what the journalist has said. I wouldn't just categorize it as a racist one. This is something dangerous, and to let it pass for Kenya not to react, this is not really acceptable. Wow. So that's what he said. Now I'm gonna share with you this slides, and let's dig a bit, and then I will come back to you with what the man said. So now the King Charles is okay. So in Britain, ahead of his visit to Kenya, there was a diaspora, and the Kenya diaspora has visited him in Buckingham, in his palace in Buckingham, and the Buckingham Palace, and then to set the agenda of this, they have raised this topic. Of course, he did not give them answer on the spot, but they did raise this issue. Now, for what the Kenyans are asking, for what they are expecting an apology, it is for during colonialism, the Mau Mau movement has fought against the British military there for their independence, and they have massacred tens of thousands of these people, and they have tortured and they have abused them as well sexually, and there are more crimes that they have committed to these people, and there are survivors, relatives and survivors, I mean the direct survivors, the direct victims of this crime, and also their relatives as well who can testify about it. So this is the Mau Mau movement. That is for that crime and for the slavery as well. The Kenyans are expecting to apologize for the king to apologize. But as you have heard, the journalist in Sky News, he's saying, oh, so after the sorry, then comes the reparation, the free money. Excuse me, what is free money? Isn't it for the crimes that they have done? I mean, this is actually, you cannot pay. All of them, those colonial powers who were colonizing African countries, they cannot finish paying for what they have done. But of course, the minimum has to be done. So they have to apologize, and then there must be, even if it doesn't equal for what they have done, at least there will be some kind of compensation for the survivors, and then for some kind of things for what they have done to pay back. Now, these are the survivors of the Mau Mau movement, the torture of the British military officer in Kenya, and still, they are protesting, as you can see, with some placards, with we stand with the Mau Mau, justice now for the Mau Mau victims of torture. These are the things that have been displayed, but apparently their cry have not been heard. All these are, victim survivors of that. Now, this man is also, he's a survivor of the British military officer's torture in Kenya. So he is also one example. But now, is this the only thing that the British have done or committed? Is this the only crime? Not really. But let's hear this further. I'm going to share the video and hear what they are saying. Actually, this is really shocking. The British media, this is Sky News. I mean, in fact, the Kenyans forget the money, the compensation, that they have to be happy. They are telling us that now Kenya should be thankful or grateful for what colonialism has given to Kenya, like the English language, like democracy. What democracy? Democracy has been killing us, actually. And then the rule of law, as if these kingdoms, these chiefs, these tribes did not know how to rule themselves. How arrogant are you? How racist you are to tell, the Kenyans that we gave you a rule of law. No, you came and disrupted the rule of law that these tribes have in Kenya. They did not need you to come and govern them and to provide a rule of law to Kenya. Just listen to this. I really hope that the Kenyan government would react to this.
It's the fastest growing news site in Britain. It's on its way.
Here's
Patrick,
what this man
the
has to
King's
say.
slamming of British history in Kenya, the right thing to do, or is he letting Britain down a bit?
Well, it's absolutely the wrong thing to do. The King is supposed to be our envoy around the world, not going around on an international apology tour. And they're trying to spin it as the King stopped short of full frontal apology. Well, that's just a technicality. That was an apology. And yeah, we've seen it time and time again from the royal family. There was a lady whose real name is Marlene Headley, who went by the name of Ngozi Fulani and then dressed in full African clobber and attended an event at Buckingham Palace. She took a great umbrage as a member of the royal household, Lady Susan Hussey, who'd been the Queen's closest confidant for decades, asking her where she was really from, which might have been slightly clumsy, but also not the most ridiculous question, given the circumstances. They then apologised to her, but a little bit like this, Andrew, an apology is not enough. Next comes the handout. Next comes money. But, for the Kenyans, we have actually given them billions of pounds over the years. They are a member of the Commonwealth. In fact, £132 million investment in Kenya went there just a couple of years ago. And can I just say, whenever we see incidents take place in this country, if we see a terror attack or something like that, we don't ever expect an entire community to apologise for the actions of one rogue individual. So why should our entire country now, and every British person living in it, and our current serving monarch, apologise for things that had nothing to do with him? Where are our reparations from the Norman conquerors or from the Viking and their ancestors,
Look, it's true. And the other thing is, couldn't he say, well, listen, there are bad things we did. There's good things we did. I mean, the intertribal slaughter we helped to ameliorate. We gave you democracy, even if Kenyans don't always live up to it as they should. We gave you the gifts of the English language. We gave you the rule of law. I mean, there's many institutional things. I've been to Kenya. I look around and I think, wow, if the British hadn't been here, this place would not be quite as good as it is. Not that the Kenyans have quite lived up to the legacy they were left.
Yeah, exactly. But also, if it hadn't have been us, it would have been someone else. I mean, the French were at it, the Portuguese were at it, the Spanish were at it. Everyone was at it, OK? So if it wasn't the Brits that had gone in there at that particular moment in time, it would have been somebody else. And I don't see these other countries queuing up to apologise either. But it just ties into something else that's really going on in this country as well, which is, what kids are going to be taught in school today, don't you? That our king has gone abroad to Kenya and apologise for our past, which gives teachers another excuse to teach youngsters in this country now that Britain's past is terrible and that we were an evil force around the world. I mean, I've always said this, and I always will. The world has been very lucky to have Britain, actually, and at times it has been a gift to the world. Yes, there were historic wrongs. Yes, there have been things that have gone wrong because things were different. Times were different back then. And that's not to excuse them, but we shouldn't be apologising for those things now.
No, and no.
Wow. You have heard, so that's exactly what the media has said, that we have given you a rule of law, democracy, even if you are not living up to. I mean, democracy did nothing but chaos in Africa, and rule of law. I mean, Africa was kingdom and kingdoms before you guys come and say discover the continent, and you disrupt the whole livelihood of the continent, of the people, the tribes. They knew what to do. Wow, what an arrogant, but also the other thing that now the analyst who is being interviewed said is that now look, this will give our school, meaning that the schools in English, another excuse for the teachers to teach them that okay, the king has gone to a tour and then he apologized. Even that makes, even that that's something that they are trying to avoid, as if that is something bad to do. I mean, if it's wrong, then they need to tell their people, I mean the kids, that it was wrong, but the king of Britain has apologized for what they have done. Isn't that something better or good or right thing to do? Even that scares them. What kind of, instead they choose that children who are proud of their wrongdoings, their crimes, and then who continues for what their ancestors have done, instead of rectifying it and apologizing for it and doing the right thing. I mean, it's just, I'm speechless, really. I'm really speechless. I think like sometimes this video is just made up, but this is today, okay? This is what we hear at this time. So I will not be surprised if the king did not apologize, really, if this is the mentality of the people. Actually, apparently the people do not want him to apologize. That's what it means. It's just crazy. Now I'm gonna go and let's try to dig some things. For example, I mean, Britain, it's not only the slavery or colonialism that it committed its crime in Kenya, but there are other things that they have committed as well. Now this man is he was across Kenya Rift Valley elders from the Nandi ethnic group are calling on the British government to return the head of Koitalel Arap Samoy. The head, but I mean, they took the head after they killed him to Britain. I don't know, maybe they have it in their museum, but now the Kenyans, and particularly from this ethnic group, from Nandi ethnic group in Kenya, they want the return of his head. Britain is not only to Kenya, they are doing this, also to Ethiopia. I mean, they adopted, for example, I say adopted, but they captured and took Emperor Tedros. Emperor Tedros, he killed himself because he didn't want to be a captive of the British when they came to invade Ethiopia. So as a battle, he killed himself. But then they took the son, and also they took, he has this braided hair, the emperor, and they took his hair as well. So they have this strange way of things, now in their museum. They returned his hair just very recently. So now I wouldn't be surprised if they have taken this man's head. It's really strange. But yeah, now this ethnic group wants England or Britain to give back this hero's head. Another thing is there is a Kipsig's ethnic group who also want a compensation for being forcibly removed from their fertile lands, which paved the way for the arrival of white settlers, and who established a very profitable pineapple farm on that land. There is also a sexual abuse of the armies, which is owned by British company in Kenya. We continue in this day, at this time also. this is a recent history, a recent story. Maybe a year ago, I don't know, no, max, yeah, a year ago, King Charles' visit was also, faced by another challenge in which there is a troop, a British troop military troop in Kenya, who are don't ask me what they are doing, because the Western countries have military bases in the continent. It's up to the heads of states really to ask and to ban these things. It's in sovereign countries, no foreign troops should be allowed to have their base. It's not a temporary base, by the way. Those British officers, army, the military troop, have a permanent base in Kenya. Now, during their training, they used this phosphorus thing, the white phosphorus, they call it. So it caused a fire, and the people from there have been evacuated. Some of them have become a victim as well. Now there is also a health problem for people around there, and still until now they are not, they are not willing to compensate the people who are, victims from this. It's really sad. And that land now, the people who were on it, who were farming, the tribes who were there, cannot do anymore because it's a chemical. So the land refused to give them fruit or production, whatever. It's not anymore arable land. Another crimes that, again, the Britain have committed is that one British army officer has taken this girl. So there are testimonies, people who witnessed. They went to a hotel, but after that, the girl disappeared, and then she was found in a pit hole, in a hole there. So they want a closure for this, and for the family to be compensated. Again, they have got, these things also in the air. It's not settled yet. So these are all the things that has been committed by Britain to Kenya. We think that it's just only the Mau Mau people. No, I mean, it just continue up until now. As we said, still the military base. I mean, nobody told them to leave the country after they have used that chemical and caused a fire and evicted people who were, on the land and who were eating out of the land, and they were the owners of the land. Now they are not there. They are displaced, and they cannot produce what they have been producing from their land because of the chemical. So there's a lot going on, and still those kind of crimes that has been committed by Britain, like the massacre against the Mau Mau people, and then also the slavery, they continue to say that they are not going to apologize. Well, I really hope the Kenyan government will reply to this, particularly how the Sky News has presented this story. If you don't know, the Kenyans, of course, at that time during the World War, Europe was not just fighting by itself. So those countries who were colonizing, the European countries who were colonizing Africa, they took Africans to fight their battle. Okay, so these are the people who fought during the World War on behalf of Britain. So they are here. I think King Charles made them. Now, just to dig more on the Mau Mau movement or the Mau Mau people, maybe you don't know this, but their case actually has been taken to a court. And there is this law firm called Lay Day. And this firm, it's a British law firm, represented them, and they won. Actually, they won and Britain paid 20 million pound. But that's not the end of it. Okay, that's not the end of it. It's for five these families. These are the victims, and the firm was representing all these people. This was just taken in 2013. This was the case, okay, that they have been taken to court, and the court ruled out 20 million pounds to be paid by the British government, and they paid. But guess what? That's not it. The story, apparently, the people did not really get the money. The much of the money has been kept by the law firm, which is a British law firm. I wouldn't just put it really the whole fault of the firm. This is perhaps also government has involved in this thing, so that the money remains in the UK or in England, so that it does not leave. Maybe they agreed just behind the scenes something, the government and the law firm. But this media tells us this is a man, okay, from the Leyday firm who was representing them. Now this is another side of the story. Let me just shed light on this. When in June 2013, it was announced that victims of British torture and maltreatment during the Mau Mau uprising would receive compensation from the British government, there was widespread rejoicing in Kenya. Some 5,228 people would share around the 20 million pound. But now it appears that the firm that won the ruling is facing a challenge. Leyday is accused of having inflated its bill. The Daily Telegraph reports that Leyday is now facing legal action in the Kenyan court over claims that a number of the torture victims it represented were fictitious, that it charged exorbitant fees and failed to pay out the compensation settlement in full. So the the Telegraph continues, the Law Society of Kenya claims Leyday's fee of 6.6 million is out of the proportion to compensation settlement. So this is what you have. So even when they pay, now out of the 20 million, only 6 million went to the people, and the rest was kept by the man. And they're even now in England, they're accusing, that is in 2013. I really don't know what went, how this thing is settled. But when I was just digging, I found this. So this is actually my concern. The point I brought this is maybe this soft diplomatic language is not what we should expect from the king, to get apologies, this and that. No, maybe Kenya has to, and every country that has been colonized, those who have been colonized by the French, by the the French, there was a Portuguese, the Arabs maybe, and then the Britain, they have to be taken to court. That's how you get your justice. It's better to do it. The Zimbabweans have done it, fighting their sanction for 2 decades. Now it has made a little progress, and maybe this is what Kenya has to do, because they have seen already the result when those people were represented by this law firm. Perhaps they won it because it's a British law firm, but they have to take it and make a noise and make it, an international agenda, so that Britain should pay to the victims. So this is an alternative, instead of just all of us expecting apology. This is a way to do it. Now, the future of the Kenyan children, now seeing this, some of them might just, the Kenyan king, the British king has visited at this and that time in Kenya. But, the most important thing is we have countries, or who came republic, islands like Barbados in this time, who cut their ties with the British monarch. And there are a number of other islands as well. Jamaica is in the list, and who wants to cut their tie to be free from that government and have be independent totally, because colonialism has been gone long time ago, and there's no point for the royal family, still the monarch, to keep these countries tied up with the British government. So they have seen, the Kenyan children have seen how the Barbados has gone, and hopefully there will be a generation that will fight this unsettled issue and give justice to the victims in Kenya. The hope is really in the hands of Kenya, in the people of Kenya. No one else will do it. You have to do it for yourself. So that was it for me with regards to King Charles visiting Kenya, and then whether he said sorry or not. As you have seen, basically he said sorry, that we are not sorry for for the crimes we have committed. That's how I translate what he said. Let me know what you think in the comment section, whether what he said, number one, if it is enough, number two, what should be done by the Kenyans, and your view will be really it has a value, and maybe we can discuss it again. But thank you very much for tuning in, and I really appreciate. Hit that subscription button and be a family. And also, if you like what we bring you here, give it a like. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. It's important for us. And also share it with the people so that we can empower each other with knowledge and information. Thank you very much. And bye-bye. A quick shout out to Pam Marshall, J. Taipat, Rui Nouveau, Tichala, Nugonde, Maisie Congo. Yeah, all of you. It's crazy. Yeah. Thank you. I hear all your comments. Yes, I do agree. But what can we do? Yeah, that's something we need to focus what we can do, right? And not just blaming others. Thank you very much for tuning in again. Bye-bye, and I'll see you on the next one.